Kumusta po mga kabayan? In this video, we will talk about two topics. One, fully vaccinated foreign tourists who stayed exclusively in a green country in the past 14 days prior to arrival in the Philippines are now allowed. Second, we will make a data analysis about your country's incidence rate per 100,000 population, which is the IATF's basis for determining which countries will be in green, yellow, and red categories. Disclaimer, the green, yellow, and red that we will show you is not an IATF official announcement. This is just a data analysis to see which countries will potentially be in the new green list to be announced before December 1. So days before December 1, we will hear about the official green list. So let's be clear about that. Now, the formula to compute the incidence rate is this. To enter the green lanes, the country's incidence rate must be less than 50. These are the countries that are already in the green list. So, green list na po itong mga ito. Question is, will they stay in the green list for the next announcement? Green list pa rin po ba kayo? Then, answer is yes. If the IATF will stick to the data, then the following countries should still be in green. So, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, Japan, Oman, Hong Kong, Taiwan. We've shown this before already in the video about how we computed and how we get your data. Also, Indonesia, India, Pakistan, and China will still remain in green list because their incidence rate remains very low. This is the data as of November 26. The source of this data is coming from very reliable sources, including Johns Hopkins University data, which is also used by big companies like Google. Now, there is an announcement already about foreign tourists being allowed to enter, but only coming from green countries. So, this green list becomes even more crucial for our fellow kababayans who have foreign national partners. So let's have a look at these countries where we have a lot of Filipinos and also foreign nationals who want to come to the Philippines this December. If we base it on the IATF's criteria, unfortunately, these countries will likely still remain in the yellow list for the upcoming announcement. The question is, how can they even make it to the green list? Is this even feasible this December? To have an idea, we have to compute the target accumulated cases for the past 28 days to achieve this less than 50 incidence rate. If we compute that, sadly, there are only two countries that are very close to achieving it, Qatar and Australia. Let's look at the USA. They have about 2 million plus cases in the past 28 days. Their incidence rate is actually not so high. They are about 600 compared to incidence rates of 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 in some European countries or maybe even most European countries as of today. The thing is, to achieve the IATF target, their total cases in the past 28 days should only be about 163,000. Well, is this even achievable? Honestly, I would say that this is very difficult to achieve, if not impossible at all. This is just too much of a difference. The only way is for the IATF to consider the vaccination rate because the USA has actually administered almost 500 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine and they have about 60% fully vaccinated individuals. And for information, we have about 4 million plus Filipinos in the USA. If you're a foreign tourist and your only way to enter is through a green country, I think you can consider going to UAE, stay there for 14 days, and then enter the Philippines. The UAE allows foreign tourists, so you can enter UAE. So just make sure that you have all the requirements to enter UAE. Now let's look at UAE's data. Even if their cases become slightly more than double of their cases today, they will still be in the green list. So there is a very high chance that the UAE will remain to be in the green list for the entire December. But please think about it many times because the protocol can change, corona situation can change, anything can happen. But if you are really considering it from the list of green countries, UAE is the most feasible for most people. Okay, but for foreign tourists, before you even do this, there are more things that you have to consider and you have to know, because you can only enter if you meet the following requirements. Number 1 is easy. Your passport should be valid for 6 months at the time of your arrival. Number 2, which we already discussed, stay inside the green country for 14 days prior to your arrival, which is possibly you can consider UAE. But the number 3 is the trickiest part. You have to prove your vaccination status. And so we go back to this very controversial topic. They will only accept WHO yellow card or Vaxxed PH. And since what you have now is most likely your digital vaccination card, or for those in the USA, the US CDC white card, the problem is that the US should first acknowledge the Vaxxed PH of the Philippines under a reciprocal arrangement. So which are these countries with reciprocal arrangement, or at least that the Philippines recognize? Australia, Austria, Czech Republic, Netherlands, United Kingdom, Georgia, Turkey, Samoa, Kazakhstan, Singapore, India, and Japan. So USA is not in this list. To clarify, from the last IATF resolutions, the USA CDC white card of Filipinos, whether OFWs, balikbayans, or dual citizens, the USA CDC white card will be accepted from you. But for foreign nationals, it will only be accepted if the USA will acknowledge the Vaxxed PH. So this is a very big issue for foreign tourists from the USA. But for foreign tourists from the UK, you can consider spending 14 days in UAE because your vaccination card is accepted in the Philippines. Now, how about in India? We have a lot of Indian foreign nationals married to Filipinas. Your vaccination card is accepted, but the problem is you are not in the visa-free country list. Okay, let's look at number 4 requirement. You must be coming from a non-visa country under EO 408. And here is the list. The problem is India is not in this list. Okay. Overall, for foreign tourists coming from the USA, I am very sad to say that I think it is still looking quite difficult for you to enter this December. I don't know why the IATF is still doing this. They should allow fully vaccinated individuals, especially from countries with very high vaccination rate and had almost achieved herd immunity. Okay, so let's go back to our data. All these countries will still be yellow potentially if we strictly follow the IATF criteria. So USA, Qatar, Canada, UK, Singapore, Italy, Malaysia, Australia. These are the countries with really big Filipino population aside from the other green countries that we already mentioned. So unfortunately po mga kabayan, most likely yellow pa rin po kayo. Pero tulad ng pinakita natin kanina, Qatar and Australia, you are very close na sa green. Sobrang lapit na po. Tingnan na lang po natin yung mga mangyayari. Malay po natin makalusot. Next po, okay, Bahrain. So it is very clear in the data that Bahrain should be in the green list in the coming announcement. So we expect that the IATF should stick to the data and their criteria. Then, if they do, Bahrain will be in green list starting December 1. So abangan po natin ang official na announcement. Okay, unfortunately po, Jordan, South Korea, Lebanon, France, Spain, Switzerland, Germany, medyo mataas po yung mga cases ninyo at malayo pa ito sa criteria ng green except po sa South Korea. Kung magpapatuloy po itong bumaba sa South Korea, then may chance po itong makapasok ng green. Okay, let's check the others. Okay, here, disclaimer, I am not saying that these countries will be in red. What I want to show here is that these countries like Netherlands, Ireland, and Austria have very high incidence rates. They are over 2,000. So the chance that these countries will be in red list is very high. So kailangan po natin itong abangan sa mga susunod na araw. So lalong-lalo na po sa mga nagpaplanong umuwi at manggagaling ng Netherlands, Ireland at Austria, kailangan po ninyong abangan ang red list dahil baka po masama po kayo dyan. In fact po sa Austria, naka-nationwide lockdown po ngayon. Okay, Thailand, Norway, Brunei, Sweden, Israel, still yellow po. Okay, here another European country, Belgium. So, very close din ito sa Netherlands. In fact, if you are all following the news, there is really a surge at the moment of COVID cases sa Europe. So, sa mga kababayan po natin sa Europa, stay safe po tayo palagi. Gusto po natin makauwi lahat, pero mas importante po ang ating kalusugan at ng ating pamilya. Okay, one country here should be in green, which is Egypt. Actually, matagal nang mababa ang incidence rate ng Egypt. So, I wonder why IATF missed to include Egypt in the green list early November. But we hope that Egypt will be included this time sa December. Okay, next, Yemen, Morocco, and Bangladesh should be in the green list. Okay, and then also Ethiopia. Now, let's go back to these countries with incidence rate above 2,000. So, Netherlands and Faroe Islands po ang red list natin currently. Pero makikita po natin na mataas pa rin po ang incidence rate nila. So, most likely they will still be in the red list. And then the Latvia. Previously, it was in the red list. Then November, it was removed. But we can see that in Latvia, there is still a high incidence rate again. So, let's see kung this will be added again into the red list now. Now, in Europe, the three countries at the moment with very high incident rate are Ireland, Belgium, and Austria. In addition pa ito sa Netherlands. So, we cannot say if these countries will be in red, but most likely po if we will follow the IATF criteria based on this data. Then, ulitin po natin ang mga bansang ito ay dapat nasa green list pa rin sa December. Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, Japan, Oman, Hong Kong, Taiwan. Pati na rin Indonesia, India, Pakistan at China. Then there were many comments, why did India make it to the green list? The answer is on the data. Even though they have almost 300 cases in the past 30 days, but their population is very high, 1.4 billion plus po sila. So, if we compute the incidence rate, then mababa po talaga yan. So, from December, based on data, and if IATF will stick to it, Bahrain, Egypt, Ethiopia, Yemen, Bangladesh should be added in the green list. So, ito na lang muna po. Mga kabayan, see you on the next video. Kapag may official na announcement, bibigyan po namin kayo ng update. Until then, stay safe po palagi. God bless you and mabuhay po kayo.